on Grid Tonight. In the words of NASCAR Hall of Famer Jeff Gordon, we're going to Homestead. The popular mile-and-a-half Florida track will host 2026 Championship Weekend. Does the return of Homestead come at the perfect time? More turmoil at Alpine. Team Principal Ollie Oaks resigned hours before the team swapped Jack Doohan out for Franco Colapinto. What on earth is going on at Alpine? Carlos Sainz Sr. is thinking about running for FIA president. Does he have what it takes to unseat Mohammed bin Sulayem? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lamont, and with me are Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports, Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, and welcome back Matthew Owens from the Ultimate Sports Radio Network. We encourage everyone to interact with us in the chat, support us through Super Chat, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. Now here's Josh with our top story this evening. We have a lot of news to discuss tonight. Pack show.
We really do. It's sort of gone all bang, hasn't it, in the past couple of hours, most of all as well. Good evening, Kobe. Good evening to the two Matts as well. My goodness me, we've got double billing tonight. So yesterday, let's start with the good stuff, shall we? NASCAR announced that the championship weekend for the Cup, Xfinity and Truck Series will return to Homestead-Miami Speedway in 2026. From 2002 to 2019, the popular 1.5-mile track hosted the season finale before NASCAR shifted gears to hosting the final race of the year at the newly upgraded Phoenix Raceway from 2020 throughout to 2025. This announcement was viewed as a huge win for the fans, drivers, and industry members alike, given the type of on-track product it produces on an aged asphalt with the progressive banking that creates multiple grooves of racing, whether it's hugging the bottom or up top ripping the fence. Now, before next year's championship weekend, the track is expected to undergo upgrades to improve the facilities and bring it up to the standard of being a big ticket event. While Phoenix won't host the title Saturday next year, NASCAR confirmed the 1 Mile Arizona Oval will continue hosting 2 Cup Series races next year. Now, next year's Phoenix race in the fall will remain in the playoffs, while a spot in the round of 8 as well. Now, Ben Kennedy, NASCAR's Executive Vice President and Chief Venue and Racing Initiative Officer, said that the people he's talked to in the industry are over the moon about this announcement and acknowledged this was the most asked about championship venue among the fan base. Now, he also feels this is the perfect time for Homestead to host the final again, because the asphalt is in a sweet spot right now, age-wise, and it continues to bake in the sun each year, contributing to the multi-groove racing that we have, graphic courtesy of Homestead-Miami Speedway. Right, Matt W., let's start with you on this one. How excited are you about Homestead hosting NASCAR Championship Weekend again after what has been several years away at Phoenix?
Oh, super excited. Evening all. This is, everyone's been calling for this for some time, haven't they? And finally, it's happening. It never should have left. Let's say that for a fact. It never should have gone away, but business and money talk, I guess. And obviously, as you mentioned, Josh, Phoenix had a lot of money thrown at it, and its name changed and then changed back with the ISM money that went in there pre-COVID times. And they've taken it on, and it's been a good event as a whole, weekend, and they have plenty of people coming to Phoenix. But the racing for the championship race, and I'm going to use one of my favorite phrases, the casual fan will just tune in because it is our Super Bowl, our World Series, our Stanley Cup. Will tune in for the final weekend, and let's be honest, we've had some excitement in Xfinity and trucks over the last couple of years. 2 years ago with the truck race, which just never seemed to end. Last year's Xfinity Championship race was the Justin Allgaier up and down yo-yo show, but the Cup races really haven't put on a tremendous amount of excitement for the championship race. So get it back to the race that always delivered a few weeks ago when we had the weekend there. Last year's race in the playoff with Tyler Reddick winning the race in the last corner and making a double move on the last lap to take said victory was just tremendous. It's in a great spot. There, they always have had a great crowd when it was for the championship weekend throughout the years. Again, not just for the Cup race, but for the trucks and Xfinity too. And if they're going to now put some money in, they've got plenty of time, I suppose, because we've already had this year's Homestead race, as I mentioned. We're not going to go back there now until next November. So plenty of time for them to, obviously we've had Formula E have their weekend, so there's not really anything going to be going on really at Homestead. I'm sure they'll have some racing and track days and all that kind of thing, but they've got plenty of time to do the upgrades. Good evening, Adam. He says NASCAR has listened to the fans for a change. It's amazing, awesome, and incredible. It is great. And let's hope it delivers. I have no doubt that it will.
Well, let's get Matthew Owens' point of view on this. Welcome back to the show. And come on then. You've had opinions on Phoenix being the final now for ages. You're always moaning about it as well.
Okay. First off, thanks for having me as always. So I want to be transparent. As Matt said, the racing at Phoenix hasn't been great. It hasn't been terrible. We got a really good finish there this spring. As far as the championship races go, the last few have come right down to the wire. Think of Blaney tracking down and passing Larson a couple of years ago and then trying to do the same thing last year against Logano. Phoenix, I know we're going to get to the rotation part of this later. We're not done with championship races at Phoenix, but Homestead is obviously a great choice. Everyone loves the racetrack, and it's very difficult these days to get everyone to agree universally on something. But drivers love it. Fans love it. Everybody loves Homestead, and for good reason. It gives you all of these options for drivers to choose from bottom, middle, and top, and there's grooves between all of those. There's literally 6 to 8 grooves to choose from. It's the perfect setting with South Florida in November. It gives off that championship vibe. Great fan turnout there for championship weekend. Now, of course, we have seen the fan turnout there not be as great when it's earlier in the season as it has been a handful of times in the last 5 or 6 years. But yes, for championship weekend, fan turnout has been and will be great. So it's a slam dunk. It's a grand slam, however you want to put it. It's a great decision, and it will be met with very little angst from people. So it's a great decision, and we're all excited because, as Matt said, it'll be about 18 months between Cup races at Homestead by the time we get there in November of 26. And a part that I don't think gets talked about a lot that I love about it too is Homestead has just the one date. I love the fact when we get championship races where that track is, we only go there once a year. There's no real notebook from earlier in the season because there's not a race there earlier in the season. I love that part of it too.
Yeah, Miami certainly was an entertaining race already, what we had earlier on just this season. Now, as you say, most people can get excited about Homestead hosting the season finale in 2026, but there's no guarantees that past New Year because NASCAR is switching to a rotational model, similar to that we have with the Super Bowl, NBA and MLB, All-Star weekends, NFL Draft, and college basketball's Final Four. NASCAR will rotate between a handful of tracks to give new venues and markets an opportunity to host the season finale. Now, when asked about what NASCAR was looking for in a track that would be included in the championship weekend rotation, Ben Kennedy said they want to be in a warm weather market for early November, then a quality facility with a focus on the on-track product. Kennedy also noticed that super speedways and road courses would not be in consideration to host the season finale. Last year's Cup Series champion Joey Logano agreed that we don't need an oddball race to decide the champion and feels like it's best suited for short tracks and 1.5 mile tracks since those are NASCAR's routes. Yeah, typical that Joey Logano might say that, considering that he only won 3 races last year and there were other races he needed to win. Maybe see the NASCAR Series finale at Martinsville or North Wilkesboro, Adam says as well. Good for North Wilkesboro, actually. I quite like that idea. But Matthew, coming to you on this one, what are your thoughts on taking championship weekend around the country each year to different tracks and markets? And also, which tracks would you like to see in consideration to make that rotation?
Oh, it's a great idea, the rotation. It is going to have like a Super Bowl or Final Four type feel to it, because hopefully we're going to get it plenty in advance. The track, the city, the market, everything can promote it months upon months upon months in advance. That part will be great. Now, as far as the conversation about warm weather, okay, yeah, we're not going to go to Watkins Glen or Michigan in November for the championship race. But I don't know if we absolutely have to have warm weather. There were so many people in the sport that just had an aneurysm when talking about Bowman Gray hosting the Clash in February, and we got through Bowman Gray with temperatures in the high 40s or low 50s all weekend long, and people still showed up, and amazingly, no one had frostbite or lost a toe. I don't think we have to limit it to places just like Miami and Phoenix. Is the warm weather great? Yes, but we know race fans are going to travel to anywhere to watch a race, especially a championship race. So I don't think that has to be a prerequisite. Also, I don't know if the prerequisite even has to exist that it can't be on a road course or a super speedway. I understand why they're saying that, but the line of we don't want an oddball race to determine the championship it does not land with me. We have these oddball races all year long, and as we always talk about, the entire season is the championship. Every race is meaningful. Every round of the playoff is meaningful, and yet we have those oddball races throughout the season. So, whatever, I could live without that line. But as far as a rotation of tracks, I think it's could easily be a rotation of 6 tracks. Homestead and Phoenix, definitely. And everybody that's anti-Phoenix, I get it. We talked about the racing there. But they have, as Matt said, poured a ton of money into that track, and the fans always show out. The city always promotes both races. There's no reason to not go to Phoenix. As I said, the racing's not terrible there. It's not great. It's not terrible. But they've done a great job. They support NASCAR. We need to be in Phoenix. Homestead, of course. Then the other tracks we can talk about. Las Vegas is certainly one that comes straight to mind. That's a big venue. It's going to have a big event feel to it. It's not an oddball. It's a 1.5-mile racetrack, even though we saw a car flip there last year. Is it not an oddball? Just saying. I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about Nashville. Nashville Super Speedway, 1.33 concrete racetrack. You're probably going to get pretty warm weather, high 60s into the 70s. I love how we're talking about the weather of November of 27 or 28 because no one knows what the weather is going to be this Sunday. Certainly Kansas comes to mind too, doesn't it? Because of the amazing racing we're getting there. Again, the weather conversation, it could be 30 or 70 when you show up to Kansas City in November. And the last one that I thought about was Charlotte. Copy and paste everything that I've just said about the weather of the last 2 places. But if Martinsville stays that last race of the round of 8, which I think we can expect it to do, pretty easy travel. Pretty easy on everyone to go from their base in or around Charlotte to Martinsville, come back, have a home finale. And this would be on the oval, of course, not the Roval. I don't think people want to see the finale on the Roval. 400-mile race on the Charlotte Oval. We haven't had a non-600 oval race at Charlotte in a long time. I think a lot of people are pushing that with this car. It would host a great finale. Crowd would be fantastic. And, of course, it would be in a Charlotte market that doesn't really get to host many championship events in other sports. The last big championship event Charlotte hosted that I can think of was the 1994 Final Four, a long time ago.
I mean, it was a long time ago. Was that 31? And by the time it comes to there, it could be 32, 33 years ago. Blimey. Come to Dover in November.
They'll have to fit snowplows on if they go to Denver in November.
You're going to have a hard enough time going to Dover in July this year. Holy smokes, it's going to be 115 on the concrete.
Talking of concrete, your oddball comment, we had an oddball race at Bristol last spring. Let's not forget. We almost have one this spring. I agree with what you said about all the places there in your list there. couple of points to pick up on. If they go to Vegas, championship month in Las Vegas, the NASCAR championship finale at the beginning of the month, and then Formula One at the end of November. Motorsports championship month in Las Vegas. That's a product, isn't it? You could promote everything with that. Matthew, you mentioned Nashville.
104 is going to Las Vegas in 2028, by the way, for the first time. 2028?
Yeah. Throw that in there as well. You mentioned Nashville. We know how the National Broadcasting Company loves Nashville. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about that because, of course, this race would be on NBC.
Oh, yeah.
They did all the stuff with IndyCar, didn't they, with the street race, and then obviously moving it to the oval last year, and that will continue. So, again, NBC. The IndyCar, it's not on NBC anymore, but you could have the IndyCar finale in Nashville and the Cup Series finale at the same track, And you mentioned Charlotte. Now, as much as I agree with what you just said, and it would be cool to have a 400-miler there, they're not going to give up the Roval. So then you would have to have 3 dates at Charlotte, wouldn't you, throughout the year? Because the Coke 600 is not going away. They're not going to give up on the Roval.
I think if they can get the finale there, if they have conversations and believe that they can get the finale there, they'd give up the Roval.
You think?
Yeah, but
for that year,
I'd be surprised for that. But maybe
for that year,
maybe for a year, yes, perhaps.
Yeah.
If it was going to be a permanent, then no, I would say
no, of
not.
course, yeah.
Then again, you've got to run the risk of rain at Charlotte, which we had for the 600 that wiped it out. And in November, that would rise considerably, right?
Rain in 2025 or 2027.
Yeah,
again, we're rolling the dice on whether everywhere we go, other than maybe Phoenix. I mean, we're actually quite lucky we haven't had more rain in Homestead for championship races, right?
True. This is kind of in the problem. The problem with this is that the NASCAR season is the length that it is, and finding places in the end of October and the beginning of November is very similar to finding races at the end of February, beginning of March, because they're all in that southern belt, aren't they? Through Atlanta, Phoenix, Vegas, Texas. You could throw in there perhaps Homestead, Daytona, of course, and then when they used to go out to Auto Club too. So may it rest in peace. But the weather problem is linked to the length of the championship.
Right.
Yeah.
All the reason to shorten the season.
Shorten the season, yes, and I've got another reason as well. If we've got to have a championship race, get rid of the playoffs and don't make it that only 4 drivers can win the title in one crucial race, because nobody turns up for the other 37 weeks of the year.
Now we're starting a conversation.
Don't forget, Dale Jr.'s last win was a rain-shortened race at Phoenix. Yeah,
he also won a rain-impacted Phoenix race in 2004.
Ooh, I like what John's put here. Run a track that allows NASCAR to run rain.
Oh, that's an oddball. Can't have an oddball for the championship.
Yeah, because then Joey Logano won't win.
New Hampshire, Richmond, Martinsville.
Yeah,
that's it.
All those.
That's your list.
Atlanta.
Yes,
Atlanta.
But now in its current configuration, that rules that out, being that it's a super speedway. So or you could go to Sonoma and have a race there. The grass would be growing in November at Sonoma.
I've just got a better idea. Just punch Joey Logano and tell him to shut up because he's being an idiot. That's what you do. Who are we going to listen to? The driver who can only win a championship in the playoff format and is literally last year was the least deserving driver to win the championship. Or
we are talking about the most recent winner on the Cup Series tour, right?
Josh is he's a week late on the Joey Logano pylon. That was happening after Talladega.
Well, I just had to point out. I did cover Talladega, but I wasn't in the last week's, was I? I was
no.
Dover in July for the Xfinity race as well. So John, that's gonna
back the sunscreen. Oh,
yeah. Hat.
Baked John might be because something that comes across that one. I would say Pocono, but it snows in November. Pocono you can't really have Poconos in banana. No, that's too much. But let Logano have his own opinions as well. Has he won this year yet?
Yeah, last week.
Oh, he won the one I missed.
That's right.
Last week.
Yeah. Right. Well, I haven't watched it yet, and I wasn't on the commentary, so don't slaughter me, people, before they jump on me there. I was not on the call. I was doing the IndyCar. Then I was on Miami. And I think everybody would have rather have done Miami than done IndyCar because nothing happened at all. That's a tough story for another day, isn't it? Right, let's move on. Staying with NASCAR, though, TNT Sports have completed their full broadcast lineup for this summer's coverage of the NASCAR Cup Series. That is beginning on Saturday night, June the 28th, at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the in-season tournament. Now, as previously announced, Adam Alexander will lead play-by-play with Steve Letarte and Dale Earnhardt Jr. joining him in the booth. On pit road, we'll have Marty Schneider as well with Daniel Tronta and Alan Cavana joining as well. Now, TNT will have an on-site pre-race and post-race show called NASCAR Nation, hosted by Shannon Spike, alongside Jamie McMurray and pilot Kurt Klickerman as well. Now, TNT will also offer an alt broadcast on True TV with Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Burton to offer an in-depth look at individual driver bracket storylines as well. Now, in addition, that's going to be Mamba Smith will contribute to NASCAR's TNT coverage and be a correspondent for the Bleachers Report on NASCAR's coverage, graphic courtesy of TNT Sports as well. There's a lot of people joining that TNT booth. And I've just got to think, Dale Jr. said on that podcast that it's a shame that there was no room for Rick Allen. I'm reading that. I'm seeing there's about 3 places where Rick Allen could have actually been if they tried harder, which makes you think exactly what has NASCAR and the broadcast companies actually got against Rick Allen. Because everybody, just before you get on to that, I just want to say this.
Yeah.
The social backlash to Adam Alexander being the play-by-play, to his reaction as to what people have been saying about his Xfinity calls, that he adds nothing to the broadcast, and now he's got these Cup Series races alongside the Xfinity. People are saying that it's too much overkill of him. So that's something. And why not just give Rick Allen the 10 races? I don't get it. So, Matt, let's start with you. You probably do. Studio time, pit road for TNT Sports is an A-star all round. I'm surprised Ryan Reynolds is coming in. I thought he was just going to do the Fox stuff this year. But, Matt, what do you think about the group that TNT Sports has assembled? And how do you feel about so many of these people overlapping for other broadcast networks? It kind of feels like the old days when TNT
Well, I was going
was
to say, Larry being back on TNT is a throwback, isn't it? From when it used to roll from Fox to TNT in the summer with Adam Alexander as part of that group as well, to some portion. I mean, there's and the 3 of us on this show right now are fine ones to talk about this because we all cover these races in a commentary role as well. But there's far too many people going on here. And they're all the same. I don't understand why there can't be the Fox crew, with no crossovers. Then you have a completely fresh set of eyes and ears on the broadcast and a new outlook. And we're going to get that, of course, with the Prime stuff coming up through the summer and TNT before it goes back to ABC. But pulling everybody from here, there, and everywhere, I mean, it wouldn't happen here in the UK. You wouldn't have people on BBC during the World Cup and then in the later rounds chop over to ITV once the final comes around. You couldn't have Gary Neville or Micah Richards doing one or the other or both, as the case may be. So I don't really understand why that's happened, but there is maybe a core group of people they've just picked from, and obviously there's a few around the edges of that, Rick Allen perhaps being one of them, that's on the outside looking in.
I just want to clarify. Yeah, we've got the USON 3. That's Matthew, Matt, and Seth. And then you've got the JBM 3, which is me, JT, and Jack. And then we will all merge together on
that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's usually on Xfinity Series calls and some Cup calls as well. So it sort of all goes in together with the Truck Series being taken on the world feed. But yeah, that's how our sort of intermingle works. But we're all doing the commentary, and even we think this is too much. And there's only 6 people. Matthew, what about you?
Well, I think the first missed opportunity came from when no one went after Todd Gordon. to be a crew chief role on these broadcasts. The 10 races on Prime and TNT, 6 of them are PRN races on the radio. Of course, Todd works for MRN, but not every week. Rusty Wallace sometimes goes up into the booth to be their driver analyst. They split between him and Todd Gordon. I think they should have went after Todd Gordon and gotten a crew chief in the booth. I think they should have gone after Dale Jarrett, who doesn't call races anymore for NBC. I think there's a lot of missed opportunities there, but that's just me. Larry McReynolds is going to kill it on the Altcast, if indeed it is what the new Altcast normally are in sports, like with what ESPN does on Sunday Night Baseball. Put the baseball game on ESPN and then put an Altcast on ESPN2, which is more analytics driven. They do that with some of the hockey on TNT. So if that is what they are looking to do with that broadcast, that includes Jeff Burton and Larry McReynolds. Larry's going to be great at that, and that may actually be the superior broadcast. We'll see how they go about it. Danielle Trotta on Pit Road. She's hosting pre-race and post-race on Prime, Pit Road for TNT. So that'll be great. Parker and Jamie being at the track for pre-race, and of course Adam being at the track to call the race ensures that all the Xfinity Series races in that span will be at the track instead of from the new shiny studio in Charlotte. That's good news. I mean, overall, it's basically what we expected. We certainly already knew the booth. We had a good idea about Pit Road. Alan Cavana's a nice hire. He's here, there, and everywhere. Of course, he was on FS1 for a long time on Pit Road in the Truck Series, and he went over to PRN, did some pit reporting there, and turn announcing at COTA because there's, 2011 corners at COTA. Then he's joined MRN for a few races on Pit Road. Now he's found himself on Pit Road for TNT. That's good for Alan Cavana, big Rusty Wallace fan. That's the only knock I have against the guy. It's a very eclectic group of people, and I think it'll turn out to be very good. I really do. Shannon is obviously very good at what she does, and I'm glad she's landed somewhere after Fox tore down studios and studio shows and all of that. So yeah, it's for the most part what we expected. Would I have liked some differences? Yes. Like I said, make that booth Adam Alexander, Dale Jarrett, and Todd Gordon, and off you go. But I don't make the decisions. But TNT is really doing a lot of big things. And I know you guys have TNT Sports over there, and I don't know the state of what they're doing, but over here, they've just acquired Roland Garros. They're doing the French Open for the first time here in a couple of weeks. They'll be doing that coming off of just a mega couple of months with NBA playoffs and Stanley Cup playoffs. NASCAR comes in. They're riding a real high at TNT right now. In the fall, they're adding Big 12 football and basketball, Big East basketball. They're adding a lot because, of course, they're losing the NBA, which is huge over here in sports media land. So they're riding a big wave here, and this is a part of it.
Well, to add to that, you just quickly, Josh, before we move on. Yes, you mentioned Roland Garros on TNT here in the UK because they picked up all the Eurosport stuff. So they had the snooker last week on TNT for the first time, World Championship Snooker. They've got the Tour de France on there for the first time this year, and they've had the Giro, or about to have the Giro, which starts next week, I believe it is. So they've got loads of this extra content coming in. And to the point we made before, the Giro d'Italia, which is the Italian Tour de France.
Oh, okay. Thanks for having us in for the Giro.
And they'll have, indeed, and the Vuelta de España as well, which was on Eurosport. That will be on TNT in September. So they'll have all of the big three. And to your point about all the people, all the heads, I had on this evening before the show and before the match started, the Arsenal PSG Champions League game, which was on TNT. They had at the desk Laura Woods hosting with Jack Wiltshire, Martin Keown, and Owen Hargreaves. In the stadium also, they had Becky Ives. In the stadium also, they had Rajmir Chowdhury and Ali McCoist, who was on co-coms with, I'm guessing, probably Fletch, but I didn't have the game on. People everywhere, all in a football stadium, which is obviously much, much smaller than Watkins Glen or wherever else where they've got people scattered throughout, as we've seen with NBC through the last few years. So just seems to be a TNT thing where they can pack as many people into broadcasts across
and
they
they
down
didn't.
here in the UK.
Nobody called me.
Absolutely ridiculous decision.
Well, I just want to pick up on that actually because TNT over here has actually boomed a lot. They've just, as you said, they've merged with Discovery Plus, so that was the Eurosport brand under Warner Brothers Studios and all that lot. So you've got TNT Sports 1, 2, 3, 4, and Ultimate, and Box Office. That's your sort of 6 channels, and then TNT Sports 5 to 10 are red button channels. Which means you press the red button and it's behind the scenes stuff. So I don't know if America have red button or not.
Absolutely not. That's why I love it so much.
Right, yeah. So basically you press your red button on your remote and you get access to a pop-up menu. There you go. Yeah.
There's my Sky remote and there's my red button.
There you go. Here's mine. Here's mine. Yeah. So you press the red button. There you go.
There we go.
You press that red button and you get access to all these onboard things. So you might hear Crofty say if you press red button and all that lot. It's the same on TNT in the UK. So it's a digital service that's online. And you press it and you get to watch more channels and more sports. Quite often that's where WEC is or Rallycross. You can watch all the stages. So they've actually now realised that they've got too much. They're looking to add TNT Sports 5 to 10 on terrestrial television here in the UK. So that would be 10 channels of TNT live. Then they'd have everything else on Discovery Plus because Discovery Plus is about 20 seconds behind, whereas linear TV is only 8. And that was set up after 9/11 as a global thing as well. So if anything happened around the world on a live news channel, you can stop it. And there you go.
I don't have that.
You don't have it? Is that yours?
That red button, and I don't have it on this one either. And my real only question is, it's 2025. Why do I need 3 remotes to control my television?
Oh, hang on a minute. I'm going to try and find my other remote now, and I can't remember. I can't see where it is.
Also, to your point, TNT Sports over here is on TNT, TBS, and True TV. Plus, there's Max. So you have 4 different options to take in TNT Sports over here. So we might get to 10 before it's all said and done.
Here it is. Here's my television remote. And there's, you can see, look, the red button. Red button.
This is exactly what people tune in for, too.
Yeah. So you can see. So your red button, that is to access your other stuff. I think green is subtitles. Yellow is...
Heaven forbid we just put the word subtitle on the button.
Yeah. Yeah, and blue, by the way, blue gets rid of that annoying pop-up as well. And yeah, there you go. There's a Sky Key remote and a Toshiba remote control.
The
I have more.
older statesman of this broadcast, bring back teletext. Anyway, let's move on.
No, just a side thing as well. Matt, do you remember the B game on the Sky Gate, on the Sky Qs and that lot?
Beehive or whatever it was called.
Beehive, yeah. Do you can still play it?
You can. I know.
You can. I was playing it the other day. It's actually great. I still remember playing Tom and Jerry on it and a Tomb Raider game. You used to certainly do like that on the controller, and you used to play it. So you used to be able to play. It's called Play Jam, which is a Sky thing, and you used to be able to play video games on your Skybox. Google it, people, if you haven't done it. It's fantastic. But yeah. There's your side rant talking about a TNT broadcast team that's ended up on a history going back as well. And I've turned my television off. I pressed the other red button.
Press the red button.
I pressed the big power button, and now I can't see you lot. Oh dear, this is going wrong. Come on, come back. Yeah, here we go. It's back now. Yeah. Although, unfortunately, this is no joke. My late Nana, when she first heard about red button, pressed the wrong red button. She pressed that red button. So every time they used to say, we're continuing this now, but it's going to be on the red button, she'd turn the television off. I had to teach her how to use it. And then I'm rescanning the boxes and everything. And also, there's a television that's up above me as well. It used to be hers. She'd say, I don't know what's wrong with it. It keeps going in black and white. I don't know. It must be failing. I've had that television since she passed away, and it's been nearly 6 years now. Not once has it ever gone black and white on me. Not once. What she did, I don't know. She must have lost my colour button. Anyway, we're getting way off track.
Should have had a red button for an uncensored episode of The Weakest Link. But
Yeah.
That's another.
Anne Robinson. These are two. You don't have Anne Robinson over there, do you?
Oh, she came over here for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love The Weakest Link, my favorite game show. Anyway, we steered so many ways.
My favorite joke was Doctor Who, that episode where in 2005 it was against the Daleks, and they had a big game show, and they played The Weakest Link, and they had the android as android, and it was hilarious. She killed 3 Daleks before getting exterminated. So there's a little thing for you. I'll send you the clip later. Okay, Matthew, we're going to let you go now as well, so you can get out of this rabbit hole.
Really? Just when we started having fun?
You are the Weakest Link. Goodbye.
Well, indeed.
Thank you guys, as always. Glad I could make an appearance, even though you won't let me buy points on Pick.
No, you can't buy points. No.
Pick a winner. No. Wait, not.
You may be able to win some points back though. If we need to get like a sweepstake, if you pick the Indy 500 winner right like 2 months in advance, you've got to get bonus points for that.
Joseph Newgarden.
Oh, you're going for Newgarden. Ooh.
No, I'm not. But it would be cool if it happens. More on that story in the next few weeks.
It's Tucker Award or Alex Palou. Come on, it's one of those.
Oh Lord, I can't wait. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Matthew. Bye bye. Oh dear. Oh well, now that the Weakest Link is gone. If he was on that show, we both know he would get through and win it, wouldn't he? That man knows is unbelievable.
Well, if it was a specialist motorsports Weakest Link, especially Indianapolis and NASCAR stuff, then
maybe mastermind then.
Yeah, he'd be better off in the black chair than behind Anne Robinson's podium. Anyway.
Oh, I'd love that. Okay, so let's get into Formula One, shall we? And talk about some very interesting stuff, because before we will get started on the inevitable driver change that's happened at Alpine, there's something else happening at Alpine. Ollie Oakes has resigned as team principal, effective immediately. Now, according to the team statement right here on screen, the executive advisor, Flavio Briatore, will cover duties previously held by Oakes. Alpine thanked Oakes for his efforts since joining the team last summer and his contributions in helping the team secure 6th place in the Constructors' Championship last year. Now, this year, Alpine currently sits 9th in the Constructors' Championship in what has been a time of turmoil and dysfunction. Oakes is the 3rd team principal to depart Alpine in the last 2 years, joining Otmar Safnauer and Bruno Famin. Now, with Oakes making a sudden departure and Briatore rising to power again, it left many wondering if Briatore forced Oakes out or Oakes departed once he learned that Jack Doohan was getting the boot from his race seat. After all, Oakes continued to defend Doohan publicly and showed support for the Australian driver under difficult and constant pressure. Now, there seemed to be an internal power struggle at Alpine, with Oakes backing Doohan and Briatore seemingly more interested in putting Franco Colapinto in the seat. Now, look at the last line in Alpine's statement. The team will not be making any further comment. Flash forward several hours and Briatore put out this statement on his social media, despite the team saying they wouldn't comment on this matter again. It says that a lot has been said in the past 24 hours incorrectly, associating the decision of Ollie resigning to an alleged disagreement or that we shared different views. This is completely false and far from the truth. Me and Ollie have a very good relationship and had long-term ambitions to drive this team forward together. We respect Ollie's request to resign and have therefore accepted his resignation. The reasons are not related to the team and are on a personal nature. I will continue to be more and more involved with the team together with the strong management we already have in place. We will work hard on improving our position this season and preparing for 2026. Included is the message from Ollie to the whole team. And that message reads, it's been a privilege to lead everyone at Enstone. What a team, what a place. It is a personal decision for me to step down. Flavio has been like a father to me, nothing but supportive since I took the role, as well as giving me the opportunity. Everyone is in the place for 2026, and where this team deserves to be, I believe, in Enstone. I can barely get through that. I hope Mick Schumacher is going to race Alpine starting in Silverstone. Is that true? Well, do the math. Well, that's in 5 to 6 races time. Who knows what's going to happen? We thought Red Bull were bad with having different drivers in their seat. Alpine is literally they're playing the Joker back. It's ridiculous. Even Omi's been with Alpine as well. What's really funny earlier when people found out who Doohan's manager was, the fact that Flavio basically sacked his own driver that he's a manager for. Yep, to get another driver that he basically Franco Colapinto was always going to drive. We knew that. What we didn't expect is Flavio Briatore back. How can he be back? This is worse than when in episode 9 of Star Wars, all we got was somehow Palpatine returned. This is equivalent to that. Somehow Briatore has returned. I just don't know. I don't know. You can seem to get away with murder in Formula One. So how chaotic has this situation become in Alpine with another team principal departing? I think that's now a total of 7 in the past 6 years, something crazy like that. What are your thoughts on the statement from Briatore and, of course, Ollie Oaks? Kobe's back with us for this.
Yeah, Josh. I saw motorsport.com put up a graphic of all the team principals this team have had when they were Renault and then when they switched to the Alpine brand. There's like so many team principals, you almost run out of 10 fingers on your hands. This has been so much turmoil, so much turnover. And if you've seen this happen in other sporting leagues, usually when you have like so many coaches, so many general managers, team presidents, team principals, whatever, usually not a good sign of things to come. It's so unfortunate because it seemed like at one point this Alpine organization had a lot of potential, but given all the changes in leadership and all of this, and then the chaotic situation with this driver lineup, it really seems like that could potentially hold them back from reaching their full potential. And yeah, very interesting that Flavio Briatore has come right back to the top of all the things right after this man was banned because of what happened in the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix with Crashgate there. It's amazing, the guy that was once, considered a pariah in F1 and be like, we're done with him forever. And all of a sudden, he's back right where it started at Enstone, in control of the team. But yeah, certainly didn't expect to get that notification late in the day yesterday about Ollie Oaks resigning. That's something I did not expect at all. And as I put, in our private chat among their team members, I said that's probably a sign, that a driver change is about to happen. But honestly, I didn't expect to see it happen this week. I thought it would be announced, right before we, head into the Imola race weekend for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, and then to see this all happen and come together, it was just really surprising that it came together within hours. And yeah, Josh, while you were reading that statement, I was really laughing really hard.
Has there been another one already?
Wait, what?
Has there been another one already? Is it that gone? Is it just like another team principal, like bang, bang?
Yeah. This has been insane what's going on at Alpine. I have no idea what's going on there, but it seems like nothing good is happening over there. And I was laughing in the statements you're reading about from Flavio Briatore. I thought it was so hilarious. Literally several hours apart, we will not be commenting on this matter anymore. And then when I saw a statement, I actually had to check and make sure I said, this really Flavio's account? And yeah, it was. I'm like, they said they weren't going to comment on this matter again. And what did they do several hours later? Comment on this matter. And to me, it's kind of telling because he said there's nothing personal going on between me and Ollie. He just resigned on his own and all of that, and we're moving forward. That kind of tells me the exact opposite, right? That there was something going on between the two and an internal power struggle. And like you mentioned, Josh, we kind of think it could potentially have something to do with the driver lineup shakeup, given all the pressure Jack Doohan's been under, during his entire Formula One career, which is honestly really sad, but we all know this is a cutthroat business. Ollie Oaks continued to stand by Jack Doohan and you remember when we were talking about those photos of Flavio Briatore and Franco Colapinto taken together, like he's literally the only driver that he was so-called over posting, so you could tell, he wanted to get his guy in there at some point. I feel really bad for Jack Doohan in this situation because, as long as, Flavio was going to get back to the top, his guy Colapinto was going to be in there. And in regards to the statement about Ollie Oaks, it kind of read like a hostage message, didn't it? You know, saying that Flavio is like a father to me. I'm not so sure about that, and I believe in Enstone. And Ollie, if you really believe in Enstone, why do you leave so suddenly? Yeah, because if you believe in a place, you don't usually leave. You know, just like that. Yeah, just an insane situation.
Matt, what do you make of the what do you make of the Conservative Party? I mean, Alpine F1 team.
What a tangled web we weave. Here is the web, and Kobe mentioned the motorsport.com graphic. I found it while you were talking, Kobe, on Facebook. Since 2016, the list of team principals at Renault/Alpine: Fred Vasseur, Cyril Abitbol, Martin Butkowski, Otmar Safnauer, Bruno Famin, Ollie Oaks, and now Flavio Briatore. Formula One is going to go to the doctors tomorrow and say, I've got this rash. It won't go away. I thought I got rid of it in about 2009. Seems to have come back again. And the doctor's going to prescribe, that's Flavio. You've got a case of Flavio. The man that was banned for Crashgate, as you guys mentioned, along with Pat Simmons and all that hubbub that went on in 2008 after the Singapore Grand Prix, has weaved his way back into the team that he used to run when it was successful with Michael Schumacher at the helm in the 90s. And is now back calling the shots. What? How? Why? Well, how has this managed to happen? The man that fathered a child with Heidi Klum, of all people, is now back being a TP in Formula One. I don't know. The statement, a personal issue, Ollie Oaks, absolute rubbish. Not a chance it was a personal issue. Well, something in there. Oh, yeah. The second paragraph, the reasons are not related to the team and are of a personal nature. Now, I have done some digging this afternoon on and listened to a few people and some podcasts from fallout from Miami at the weekend. Now, if you watched I can't remember if it was sprint qualifying or qualifying. Jack was very upset on the radio that he didn't get a lap in whatever segment he got knocked out of, whatever qualifying session it was, because they all rolled into one in my mind, because he got trapped behind Pierre Gasly in the pit lane and got knocked out. I believe it was SQ1. He was very angry on the radio. He did his F1 TV and Sky interview post getting out of the car, as they all do in the media pen bit in the paddock, and then walked back to the Alpine Hospitality, where he was met by Ollie Oaks. And they had a argument in full view of people in the outsidey bit of Alpine Hospitality, not in behind closed doors. There was a discussion that had gone on. I also believe that Jack was told after the Grand Prix on Sunday night that he would be being booted back to reserve. He's not been booted completely. Let's make that clear. He's now back to being the reserve driver, which is what he was for the bulk of last season. And so he was told Sunday, and Ollie Oaks he didn't do his media debrief after the Grand Prix on Sunday because he'd already booked an early flight out of Miami, so he didn't get to speak to anybody. Now, the Netflix cameras for Strive to Divide were in the paddock all weekend this weekend and were all over this story, as it was been talked about in the press, wasn't it, last week, that there's going to be a change. And Ollie Oaks even said on the team principal's press conference on Thursday afternoon, nothing is happening. We are happy with Jack. Everything's going according to plan. And then all of this has gone on. He outqualified Pierre Gasly for the Grand Prix on for Sunday. Unfortunately, he was catapulted into the side of by Liam Lawson at turn 1. None of his fault. And that's the last image it looks like of Jack Doohan as a Formula One driver, is him sat by the side of the road at the chicane there with a flat tire being about to be winched off by the safety vehicle. He's probably not. That's probably going to be it. I don't think there's a chance of him ever getting back in to the seat. So Colapinto comes in, and we're going to talk more about the next stages of all of this next. But the principal machinations is just, if it's not Alpine, the French company, Strive to Divide. Yes, Ben, Strive to Divide. This is why I haven't watched it since 2020. If it's not the FIA, the French thing, we're going to get onto them in a little while, having problems. It's the other French thing in Alpine going completely ballistic.
Oh, my word. And let's not forget as well that Alpine won't even have Renault engines starting the next year. And it probably now won't even be called Alpine. Now, he mentioned that on the show that it would not be Alpine and it would go back to Flavio Briatore and probably be called something else. I said that 4 months ago because it was inevitable what was going to happen. I said it as soon as we found out that it would be with Mercedes engines. I said it would probably go back to being something like Benetton. So there we go. Wouldn't it be great if it went back to being Tolman? That would be nice. That'd be so back to the originals. But yeah, he's back.
Name change isn't saving this team, Josh. I'm sorry. It's not going to save it.
No, I would be amazed if this is not ending this year. Just give it up and sell it on. Who did we mention that could possibly buy it? There was somebody looking for an F1 team, wasn't there? Who was it? It's not Cadillac because they've got him now. Even though that's basically just had Jesse but a name change. There was somebody else hanging around who wanted an F1 team. Toyota, that was it. But they were in with Haas. But they're buying Haas out. So if you have a spare 200 million and fancy buying a Formula One team, there's an Italian businessman who has about as many marbles left. Yeah. He's got no marbles left. And so reading can we just bring that sentence back up that he posted on his social media account before going to the next thing, please, Kobe? Yeah, here we go. You see all that, all those words? No way did that come from Flavio Briatore. The man can barely have two sentences together. Every time he's on the grid walk with Martin Brundle, he always sounds like he's down about 5 bottles of whiskey. I mean, he's not. Wow. He's now, correct me if I'm wrong, apart even Sir Frank sort of gave up at the end, his team principal. He's now the second oldest team principal in history. He's got to be getting on, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, how old is he? He's 75 years old.
Wow.
High Tech in, and that was golf from Alpine could set it off again. Yeah, that was it. High Tech want to get in. High Tech want to come into Formula One.
Ollie Oaks' F2 team, and which is one of the reasons why Paul Aron is an Alpine reserve.
Wouldn't it be completely ironic if...
More on him, isn't it?
Yeah, wouldn't it be ironic if High Tech buy Alpine and Ollie Oaks comes back in? If that's why he's left. Because he saw what was going on and go,
You thought I was gone, but I have risen.
Nobody expects it. So that could
Nobody expects the Oaks into it or whatever, After one.
Yeah, so anyway, hours after Oaks' departure, Doohan was officially dropped from Alpine's F1 driver lineup in favour of Franco Colapinto. And as soon as Colapinto signed on to be an Alpine reserve driver, Doohan's seat was at risk. At the 75th F1 pre-show launch event in London, Doohan faced questions from the media about his future in F1 before his rookie year had even begun. And once the 2025 season got underway, Doohan had a very short leash of an amount of pressure on his shoulders. In his home Grand Prix in Australia, he crashed out in wet conditions. Then he received a pair of 10-second time penalties and penalty points for causing collisions with Gabriel Bortoletto and Isaac Hadjar in both sprint and Grand Prix races in Shanghai. In FP2 at Suzuka, Doohan had a massive crash and destroyed the car due to his own fault for leaving the DRS open because he tried it on the simulator and it worked. Yeah, leaving the DRS open at turn one of the fastest corners on the track, that's going to go well. Even at the time, I think me and Obi criticised that when we defended him to begin with, then criticised when we found out what it was. And then on that one of last weekend's Miami Grand Prix, as Matt said, Doohan and Liam Lawson collided, ending his race and possibly his very short F1 career. With enough mistakes on his resume, Alpine has decided to demote Doohan back to his old job as the team's reserve driver. Doohan said he's proud to achieve his lifelong ambition to be an F1 driver, and whilst this latest chapter is tough on him because he wants to be racing, he'll keep his head down and continue working hard and watch the next 5 race weekends with a great interest. On the plus side, he's also got his job back as Sky F1's FP3 commentator. Now, if you were wondering why he said the next 5 race weekends, it's because Alpine is only guaranteeing Colapinto 5 races from now at Imola, that's Monaco, Barcelona, Montreal, and Austria. Alpine says they're assessing their driver lineup, so they've decided to rotate the second seat alongside Pierre Gasly. So theoretically, if Colapinto proves that he's no better than Doohan, Paul Aron and Kushmani are also the reserve driver roster. Colapinto said that during his time out of the driver's seat, he has stayed sharp through the team's race support testing program and using the simulator at Enstone. Christ, we know how that goes, don't we? Briatore said that the importance of the 26 season with the new regulations and having a fair assessment of Alpine's drivers is the right thing to do, which is why he sees the need to rotate drivers in the second car. The photo and graphic courtesy of Doohan. Welcome back, Hispania. It's been a long time. So it's a pointless question, this, because we all know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it's funny. Do you anticipate Colapinto being an upgrade over Doohan? And do you think that the idea of rotating drivers in the second seat is a good idea or bad idea? Emphasis on
that. We talked about the Red Bull stuff when we had Jess on the show, didn't we? When we were talking about Yuki and Lawson a few weeks ago, when we flew all the way back to Antonio Liuzzi and Christian Klein was supposed to be rotating at Red Bull in 2005, and that didn't work out too well. Part A of the question, is Colapinto a upgrade over Doohan? Well, you take the sample of Colapinto's end of season run with Williams last year against what Jack has done over the last 6 races, or however many it's been, and you would probably say yes. It went a little bit awry for Colapinto, didn't it, at Williams towards the end of the year last year, after he came in for Logan Sargent. But I would go with probably yes. You listed off the races that he's got in this 5-race thing, although you would suggest that probably Alpine management and or Flavio have told Franco Colapinto's backers, because let's face it, this is all about the cashola, that he's got the seat for the rest of the season. But we'll go with what they've said, which is 5. 5 tracks he's not been to in an F1 car. Obviously, he's been to a lot of them in F2. And Montreal, where he's never been. Surely you'd get someone experienced in while Alpine are 9th in the championship and really struggling. But no, they're hoping for that lightning in a bottle moment from Brazil from last year, where they had Ocon and Gasly up on the podium miraculously, I guess, to try and vault them up the championship. Is this going to work? No, unless Franco they find the money or whatever to keep him in the seat for the full season, because if they do, I think he'll give Gasly a good run. But as you mentioned, they've got Paul Aron in the reserve pool. They've got Kushmani in the reserve pool. They did have Victor Martins in the reserve pool until he went left and went to Williams. They did have Ryo Hirakawa in the pool, and he was in the car at Suzuka, not forgetting, and then he went back to Haas. Was it John, I think, mentioned Mick Schumacher, who is part of the Alpine WEC lineup and, of course, has Formula 1 experience. John has clearly been looking at the Formula Racers Twitter account, because they posted that at lunchtime that Mick Schumacher is going to be in the car from Silverstone. How they would know that, goodness only knows. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe one of us 3 could be in the car by the end of the season at this rate, because the turnover is just tremendous.
I'm too fat.
I'm too tall.
Oh, yours, Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I do one Formula One race because one paycheck from driving in Formula One, even if I violate that, is it the 110% rule?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and I'm not allowed to race. Hey, at least I get paid for it. I'll be able to pay off my student loans in one paycheck, so it'll be worth embarrassing myself for a one race weekend to go.
Hey, you cannot do worse than what Sarazan did in that Minardi in 2005. You can't do worse. He was ridiculous. Google it.
Yeah. I have to look at that. You say it was Stefan Sarazan?
It wasn't Stefan Sarazan. I think it was his father.
Oh, his father. I remember watching Stefan racing the World Endurance Championship with Toyota. That's the only Sarazan I know. Yeah, but I'm not sure. I haven't actually heard of his father being a racer, so I'll definitely have to look into that. But getting back to the question itself, do I think Colapinto will be an upgrade over Jack Doohan? Well, if you look at upside, I think Colapinto certainly has more upside than Jack Doohan to be successful in this car, and I do think that Franco Colapinto has the talent that's deserving of being on the F1 grid. I hate it had to come at the expense of Jack Doohan here in the manner that it did, but like you say, Josh, cash is king. At the end of the day, this is a cutthroat business, and sometimes these things just happen. And as I said, Flavio Briatore obviously wanted to get his guy in here, and he got his guy in here. And Colapinto, started off on fire last season when he replaced Logan Sargent. A lot of people were like, wow, this kid it could be the next big thing in Formula One, because the way he came in and performed extremely well for Williams, super, super impressive. And then, as the races went on, he kind of, fell off a bit, and started making mistakes, crashing the car. And if Colapinto had kept up his form, of coming onto the scene as strongly as he did, he might potentially be in a Racing Bulls car or even the second Red Bull seat alongside Max Verstappen, because Red Bull were actually looking at Colapinto to put in one of their teams over the offseason. But once those string of crashes started, that's when they decided that, it was not best to put Franco Colapinto in that car. And that's why, signed on, as a reserve driver with Alpine, and now he's getting into the race seat. So I think he potentially has a lot more upside than Jack Doohan here, but we'll see what version of Colapinto we're going to see. Are we going to see the Colapinto that came into Formula One unknown? A lot of people had no idea who this kid was, and then quickly made a name for himself. Or we're going to see the Colapinto, that made some mistakes down the stretch and cost himself a race seat with Racing Bulls or even Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen. And in regards to rotating drivers throughout the second seat, I don't really know how that's going to go. I said my initial reaction when I first saw this news earlier this month, I said, this is just downright silly, rotating multiple drivers. Like if they say it's true, that Colapinto is just going to do the first 5 races, we're going to see what we're at, and maybe we're going to put in Paul Aaron or even Kush Miney, see what they can do, or another driver. It just doesn't really make any sense, to keep swapping drivers in and out here. Like, if Colapinto doesn't go well, instead of seeing Aaron or Miney in the car, are they going to put Jack Doohan back in the car and then keep swapping them out? It's just ridiculous, because you're not going to be able to build, any consistency here if you're continuing to swap out drivers. So I truly do not see, the method to the madness here when they say they feel like they truly need to swap out drivers in the second seat. I also wanted to address what John said about Mick Schumacher potentially, getting the seat time in an Alpine F1 car later in the year. I haven't seen any rumors about that, although Mick does drive for Alpine in the World Endurance Championship. There were some rumors heating up during the Miami race weekend that Mick Schumacher might actually be one of the finalists to race for the Cadillac Formula One team. Yeah, they said he was on site in Miami meeting with representatives of Cadillac and all of that to show his interest. So I haven't seen anything about Mick and Alpine being linked in F1. Some rumors have emerged of making Cadillac. So who knows?
Yeah, I just want to correct myself as well. Even though Stefan Salazar did drive for Minardi, that wasn't until Brazil 2005. So I've got my drivers mixed up with so many. It's actually Chanok Nizani, who is father of Roy Nizani. He literally took part in a practice session at Hungary in 2005 for Minardi on his birthday. Now, bear in mind, that was in 2005. He's currently 61 years old. So you can imagine he was in his 40s back then. He had never driven a Formula One car. He also, he literally, do you know what happened? He was he was about 6 to 7 seconds slower than Christian Albers. And he spun several times. The last time, still in the car, they had to red flag the session because he couldn't get out of the car because he couldn't get his steering wheel off. So and there is Stefan Salazar. Massive crash of the pit straight on lap 31 after suffering wind failure and spinning more than 6 times.
In one race.
Yeah, that's why Salazar was in my head.
Well, that's really crazy. That's really crazy. You can have one driver spinning 6 times in Formula One race. Yeah, they had a pinnacle of motorsport. You're spinning 6 times. I think after the third spin, they need to just black flag you and say, just park it for the day. Because if you're spinning 6 times in a race, that's a strong sign that you have no business being out there. That's just really crazy. As Ben says, good grief, and that it was the 1999 Brazilian Grand Prix, and I see Omi says that Alex Dunn was testing an F1 car for the first time earlier today at Zandvoort, along with Colapinto with Alpine also testing at the same time. And John Bender's also asking what drivers are expected to sign with Cadillac in Formula One. I think right now the leading candidate has to be Sergio Perez, because there's been a lot, of things. There have been a lot of comments in the media about about talks heating up between Cadillac and Perez, because Perez is expected to make his decision by the end of the month. And they're also suggesting that Perez isn't just talking to Cadillac, that he's talking about other F1 teams interested in his services. So it seems like Cadillac is racing to try to sign Sergio Perez to be their experienced driver in the lineup.
Probably Alpine as well. I mean,
more than likely. I mean,
get
he's
the
got money, hasn't
sponsorship.
he?
Yeah.
He's got some Kit Kat money behind him. Perez. Bottas was in the frame at Cadillac, wasn't it, at the beginning of the year? But I think that one's gone cold after he's re-signed with Mercedes Reserve.
Can I just say, how brilliant would that be for as an advertising campaign for Kit Kat? Flavio Briatore had a break, now having a Kit Kat. That'd be perfect, wouldn't it, as well? Still, I can't believe he's back. Honestly, the commentary on Friday is going to be is it this week or next week? Next week. Yeah, that's why I'm locked in my brain. Next week in Imola. It's going to be fun. Why is it Imola of all places, honestly? Okay, staying with, broadly speaking, Formula One term, but more in terms of our old friends at the FIA. An exclusive interview with Autosport and Motorsport.com, Carlos Sainz Sr., the legendary rally driver and the father of Formula One driver Carlos Sainz Jr., has confirmed that he's now considering a presidential campaign as a challenger to the current FIA president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Sainz told Motorsport journalist Rebecca Clancy it's now the right time to consider running for FIA president, although he hasn't officially launched a campaign yet. At the moment, he is in the process of figuring out how much support he'd get from the motorsport community. All of it, you fine, go for it. The FIA president election is scheduled to take place on Friday, December 12th in Uzbekistan. Sainz said he's been driving more than 40 years and the sport has given him everything, so he feels like it could be time for him to give back to the sport that's been good to him. He added that he's confident that he could do a good job and put together an excellent team. Well, that's one person at least. With Sainz considering a potential presidential campaign, some are concerned about him having a conflict of
The jokes write themselves, don't they?
I can't even get No, I'm sorry, but I can't get through that. I was reading it, I was like, what? Okay, no.
Those are the concerns for mothers in F1.
Oh, dear.
It gets better. But Sainz says that won't be an issue because he'd obviously step away from his direct involvement in his son's racing career. He'd be the first president in the world to do so. Sainz said he doesn't want to address the controversy surrounding Sulayem, but said if he does run for FIA president, he'll do it not to fight anyone, but out of passion and love for motorsport because he believes he can improve certain things. At the end of the day, he wants the FIA to be an entity that's appreciated and respected by everyone. The link to this interview is in the video description below. A photo taken by Marcin Kim from Red Bull Photography. Oh my god.
We needed that laugh.
Oh dear. Yeah, I want to be it too by the sounds of it. I couldn't make a better worse of it, could I? I saw Mohammed's latest stunt earlier that he said he wants to get rid of the F1 cost cap. That's literally just so that everyone in the bigger teams would vote for him. Oh, okay, Kobe, how do you feel about the idea of Carlos Sainz Sr. potentially running against Mohammed Ben Sulayem for the FIA president?
Well, based on this interview, it seems like Carlos Sainz Sr. has figured out that you just can't say that vote for me because I'm not Mohammed Ben Sulayem. That's the only reason why you should vote for me. It seems like he's truly figured out that you need something to run on and give people a reason to vote for you instead of just saying vote against a guy that you don't like. And it's finally nice to see that someone is thinking about putting their hat into the ring, and especially someone who is notable in the motorsport community, because most people in the motorsport community, regardless of what discipline you follow, most of us know who Carlos Sainz Sr. is in his career, as a legendary rally driver, as you said at the top of this segment. Josh, I don't know what type of FIA president Carlos Sainz Sr. would be, but it can't be worse than the current guy we have, right? Yeah, so I'm excited to see where this goes, and hopefully he'll get a lot of support in the motorsport community, so we can have someone else on the ballot instead of having Mohammed Ben Sulayem just run unopposed. And based on this interview and some of the things you said, it sounds like that it would be, in his best interest, to potentially, officially file the bid that he's going to run for the FIA president. I think a lot of people, are so fed up with MBS and everything that he's done to, tear down the institutions of the FIA. Carlos Sainz Sr., he could run on, being this guy that, the FIA has, been in turmoil. There's been a huge mess created by Mohammed Ben Sulayem, but I'm the guy who's going to come in and clean up the mess, and restore, the integrity of the FIA and fix a lot of things that MBS has torn down over time. I think if Carlos Sainz Sr., sticks to those principles, he'll be perfectly fine and stand a good chance at beating Mohammed Ben Sulayem to be the next president of the FIA. And yeah, Josh, I had the same reaction you did when I was reading this article about a conflict of interest. And who's the biggest conflict of interest of them all? The incumbent, Mohammed Ben Sulayem. It's just so silly to think that Carlos Sainz Sr. would have a conflict of interest with his son and say that's why he shouldn't run for FIA president. Like, it's just, nonsense.
They tried the same thing. It was easy.
No one can ever say we don't have fun on this show. El Matador coming to the FIA, that would be great. It probably means we'll get another Grand Prix in Spain. But jokes aside, wherever you may be, jokes aside, excellent that someone, as you said, Kobe, has actually said that they're thinking about it. I've considered thinking about, or I can confirm that I've considered it, is an interesting line. Have you thought about it? Yes, I have. We know that there's the Susie Wolf rumor going around as well. We perhaps know some other people that might be in the frame too that we can't say on the air. But something is happening now. It's beginning to move a little bit, which is good. As you mentioned, it's coming up in December. I saw earlier in the week the FIA were doing some on social media. There was some sustainability thing where they flew everybody to Morocco and then talked about sustainability. A bit like Formula E going from America to Monaco to Tokyo, which is for a championship that runs on green energy and all that kind of thing. That's excellent news. So I mean, let's hope that over the next 6 to 8 weeks people actually put their flag in the ground and say, yes, I am running, please come and support me. Even if it is Susie and Carlos and someone else, and maybe even someone else, if we've got a 4 or 5 person, going for this, then it can't be any worse than it already is. Let's face it.
Well, I know of one. I told you guys
about. Well, that's why I said what we can't say.
Sorry, that has to stay embargoed for now. But I'm going to chase up with that certain tactic. Someone other than Mohammed Ben Sulayem, Scott McLaughlin wants to run the Coke 600. Him and Kyle Larkin share a flight.
I think that would be cool to see, someone do it the other way, because, we usually see NASCAR driver, go to Indy, do the double. It'd be really fun to see an IndyCar driver, run Indy 500 and hop on a plane and come do the Coke 600 in Charlotte. But given, how Roger Penske is, I have a feeling Scott McLaughlin would probably have to get away from Team Penske, to try to do something like that, because Roger Penske does not seem interested in trying to do these things, because he said other drivers in the past say, hey, boss, can I please run this car or whatever? And he's like, not at all. And given how difficult, it is for, drivers to adapt to a next gen car, especially with that oval experience in that current car, it might be a challenge even for a driver like Scotty Mack to try to hop in a cup car, just for a one-off for the Coke 600. He would probably have to try to, fit in some Xfinity races, in between, to try to gain some experience, as see his buddy, an old rival from Supercars days, Shane Van Gisbergen, having a tough time in his rookie season in the Cup Series. So if you imagine all the trouble SVG is and knowing how talented of a driver he is, imagine Scott McLaughlin getting in a Cup car for the Coke 600 for the first time. It might not go pretty.
Cash Neves, all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, if McLaughlin does do it, he'll end up running into SVG in that race because that's just those two magnets have always stuck together, as Supercars fans will know. So they'll end up having a pile up in turn 2 at some stage.
Or battling for 30th, I hate to say.
Yeah, you're probably more than right there.
If it was Chicago, I might hold more hope. Honestly, yeah, because then, well, to be fair, we'll just be watching an Aussie V8 race. Although everyone gets annoyed when I say Aussie V8, that's only because that's what we know it as. We know it's supercars, but it's always at heart the Aussie V8s. Okay, well, we've had enough fun for this evening, but there's still a lot of motorsport news to come. So from that crazy story, that's made us all chuckle. Let's go down and get back to seriousness with Matt White and the latest in the Grid EPI update.
Thank you, Josh. Another busy weekend of the Grid Endurance Performance Index this weekend across mostly Europe, but the world as well. We will start with one of the biggest stories of the weekend, which will be covered on future Grid shows. It is that car there, the number 18 EDEX Sport LMP2 Orica, which won at ELMS Paul Ricard, the second round of the championship on Sunday. Now, if you remember back to the Barcelona race, which was a few weeks ago, this car came second overall in the race, but won the P2 category. And it was driven by Daniel Yucadella, Matthias Jobert, and Jamie Chadwick, becoming the first female racer to win outright in the ELMS. So congratulations to EDEX Sport. This is, of course, the team that is intertwined with the Genesis project coming to WEC next year. So Jamie Chadwick putting herself absolutely in the frame here for a hypercar seat, perhaps with Genesis upcoming in the next couple of years. So they were the winners of the race at Paul Ricard. The Pro-Am P2 winner, which came second overall in the race, was Nielsen Racing. There are the three drivers: Tony Wells, James Allen, and with the helmet on. Sergio Sete Camara is with the hat on. It's James Allen with the helmet on. Former F2 refugee Sergio Sete Camara getting his first win in endurance racing. In LMP3, CLX Motorsport won their second race in a row. They've also won the two Le Mans Cup races, which we don't count as part of the EPI. So they've won two Le Mans Cup races and both the LMP3 races in the ELMS. Paul Lancher, Adrian Crossmile, and Theodore Jensen in that car. They finished 19th overall. And in GT3, another female story, because the Richard Mille AF Corsa Ferrari, their number 50, was 26th overall, winning GT3 with Custido Toledo, Riccardo Agostini, and Lilo Wadu aboard that blue and white Ferrari. So a massive day for female involvement in motorsport. That will be covered, I'm sure, in depth on the next episode of Women in Motorsport here on the Grid Network. Continuing in Europe at Brands Hatch this weekend, just gone, we had the first two races of the Sprint Championship for the GT World Challenge Europe. Ferrari winning the first race. Both of these races took place on Saturday. Alessio Rivera and Vincent Abril winning for AF Corsa. And Winward Racing, last year's champions in the Sprint Cup, with this driver pair, Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel, getting the victory with their Mercedes in race 2. More GT World Challenge action from Australia this weekend as well. Under lights at Sydney Motorsports Park, Jackson Evans and Elliot Shute getting the victory for the Arise Racing team, not just in race 1, but in race 2 as well. And they got a victory and a second place at the opening round at Phillip Island. So they are really having a tremendous start to the season. One other story to tell you about from the weekend was in Japan, round 2 of Super GT at Fuji, as it always is in Japanese Golden Week. And the Keeper Tom's Supra there on screen getting the victory. Hiroki Ashira and Toshiki Oyo getting the win in GT500 and, of course, the overall race. And in GT300, there was another win for a Ferrari over the weekend. Roberto Meri and Toshaki Katayama winning from 27th on the grid when the leader with 3 laps to go had a puncture, and then the guy that then took the lead, engine blew up on the last lap. And these guys came through to take the victory from all the way down in 27th on the grid. So congratulations to all of our winners in the EPI from the weekend. Here is the point standings through week 6, and it continues to have Felipe Nasr and Nick Tandy atop the tree. As you can see, they've got a huge 10 points gap over Charles Weerts in third. Daniel Candello up in the 4th place there. He was part of that winning team at Paul Ricard. Chris Lullum joins the top 10. He is in Max Verstappen's Ferrari team in GT World Challenge. They were winners and I think third off the top of my head in the Gold Cup portion of those races at Brands Hatch over the weekend. So he slides into fifth, and Elliott Shute and Jackson Evans there with their 2 victories at the weekend, propping up the top 10. There's the rest of the top 50 with another of our winners, Vincent Abril, in 50th position from the weekend. Jamie Chadwick with 2 wins, by the way. She's going to be a part of this grid EPI, I feel, for the rest of the season. Will become eligible after the next round of ELMS. The next round of WEC is this weekend. It is at Spa-Francorchamps on Saturday. Do not forget that is a Saturday race, the last race in the WEC before Le Mans. If you're a big fan of hypercars, you've got a great weekend lined up with WEC on Saturday and Laguna Seca for IMSA on Sunday, where our leaders, Nick Tandy and Felipe Naz, will go for a 4 in a row. They've won all of the races in IMSA so far this season. The third round of the Nürburgring Langstrecke Series on the Nordschleife is also on Saturday in Germany, and the GT World Asia is back in GT World Challenge Asia, is back in action over the weekend with their first trip to Mandalika in Indonesia. So good to see cars at Mandalika. We often see bikes there with Superbike and of course MotoGP over the last few years. So it'll be interesting to see some actual car racing at Mandalika of a high standard. We'll bring you all of the results of those races on the show in the Grid EPI slot next week. And now it's time to hand over to Kobe with a couple more headlines from the week.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. Formula One agreed to a 10-year contract extension to the existing agreement with South Florida Motorsports to keep the Miami Grand Prix on the calendar through the 2041 season. With this new deal, Miami now becomes the longest contracted race in F1 since the first race weekend at Miami International Autodrome in 2022. The event has had a positive impact on the local economy and community by bringing in over $1 billion. Race organizers have also created internship programs, worked closely with local charities, and put together a marketing effort to promote homegrown businesses in the area. Stefano Domenicali, CEO and president of F1, said the Miami Grand Prix has established itself as one of the most important and spectacular events on the calendar, so extending the agreement till 2041 was an important strategic milestone to strengthen F1's presence in America. Photo courtesy of Formula One. Jesse Love picked up 2 more NASCAR Cup Series races with Richard Childress Racing. Love will get back behind the wheel of the number 33 C4 Ultimate Energy Chevrolet this weekend at Kansas Speedway, and then he'll also compete at Richmond Raceway in mid-August. Last month, Love made his Cup Series debut at Bristol, qualified in the top 20, and ran all the laps. He also drove the number 62 Beard Motorsports Chevrolet last weekend at Texas, and he'll be back in that specific car at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400. Love said having the opportunity to run the Cup car consecutive weekends on a 1.5-mile track is going to be valuable experience because he's focused on learning and understanding the next-gen car. Graphic courtesy of Richard Childress Racing. Formula 2 veteran Juan Manuel Correa will make his Indy Next debut this weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Correa will join HMD Motorsport for 7 Indy Next race weekends and 2 oval tests. Team president Mike Marini said this deal came together with Correa pretty quickly. Correa attended last weekend's Indy Next IndyCar race weekend at Barber Motorsports Park, where Marini asked him if he was potentially interested in racing in Indy Next. Less than 24 hours after that conversation, the deal was done, and 36 hours later, he was on a plane to Indianapolis to prepare for this race weekend. So another F2 driver getting on the road to Indy there. Graphic courtesy of HMD Motorsports. And now, unfortunately, we do have some sad news to share with you all. At the start of the Quattro Group British Supersport Championship race at Alton Park, that was an awful wreck at the exit of Turn 1 on lap 1. A major chain reaction wreck involved 11 riders in this bike race, which was immediately stopped as medics arrived on the scene. Due to the severity of the incident, the remainder of the British Superbike Championship event was canceled. Sadly, 2 riders were killed. Their names were Owen Jenner and Shane Richardson. According to the press release, Jenner was initially treated trackside at the Circuit Medical Center, and despite efforts to resuscitate him, Jenner passed away from a catastrophic head injury. Richardson was also initially treated trackside at the Circuit Medical Center before being transferred to Royal Stoke University Hospital with severe chest injuries, but he didn't make it as he was pronounced dead on arrival. A third rider named Tom Tunstall was also injured in this accident. It was initially reported that he was taken to the same hospital with significant back and abdominal injuries. A most recent press release said Tunstall sustained a broken bone in his neck, but his condition is stable and he's receiving the best possible treatment. Doctors are monitoring his progress and will determine in the coming days whether or not he'll need surgery. The Motorcycle Circuit Racing Control Board and Motorsport Vision Racing are conducting a full investigation, and future statements will be issued when available. And on behalf of everyone here at Grid Network, we extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Owen Jenner and Shane Richardson during this extremely difficult time, and may their memories be a blessing. Graphics courtesy of British Superbikes. And now, before we move on to our next segment, we're going to observe a moment of silence for the two fallen riders, Owen Jenner and Shane Richardson. Thank you. And next, I'm going to turn over to Matt for Pick a Winner.
Yes, awful day at Alton Park on Monday. Let's brighten the mood back up again on what has been a terrifically fun show with Pick a Winner, and your chance to get involved with our prediction game, in which it is a Matt and a Matt race at the top, much like it was a Matt and Matt show earlier. Myself and Matt B at the top of the championship, last year's champion back on top. We both picked Oscar Piastri to win the Grand Prix on Sunday, which is why we are still 1 point apart. Kobe is in 4th position. Josh is 10th on the leaderboard. There is still 140 points plus available. If you haven't got yourself on the leaderboard, then there are plenty of chances to get on and get to the top if you are successful with your Pick a Winner picks, and you can get your predictions in using the hashtag Pick a Winner across all of the Grid Network TV social medias. Expect this week's tweet, post, Blue Sky, whatever we want to call it, on whatever platform, to be up tomorrow or Friday, because it's another busy weekend, and we are going to start tonight with our picks with the MotoGP sprint race at Le Mans for the French Grand Prix. Saw some different results, didn't we, at Jerez a couple of weeks ago, slightly. I am going to go for Alex Marquez. He's won a sprint race there before, or he won or got on the podium in a wet race or something around Le Mans. He's had some good success there in the past. I'm going to go with Alex Marquez to win the sprint on Saturday. Kobe, who you got?
Yeah, it's been really interesting lately in MotoGP, because it seemed like, Marc Marquez was the one to pick, but whereas we talked about on one of the most recent wrap-up shows, it seemed like the competition is starting to catch up to Marc quite a bit, and that's why I'm actually going to go with someone different. I'll say Pecco Bagnaia gets the sprint win in France. Who you got, Josh?
Yeah, Alex did win in the sprint race at Le Mans. He then won Malaysia later on in the year in similar conditions. But his first win came last time out. It's a tricky circuit, is the Bugatti circuit. It's a lot of interesting points where if the track's greasy, you can drop it. Garage Vier is one of them. Museum. So I will say we're in for a fantastic weekend of action again. But for a sprint, I'm going with the man who's done them all. It's Marc Marquez. Sorry, I can't not go against him. I need points here. I'm 10th.
It's going to be a packed house at Le Mans all weekend, as it has been for the last few years, with their two Frenchmen, especially with Fabio Quartararo's recent resurgence, to cheer on. Supercars back in action. They've had a bit of a break since their races in New Zealand. They're in Tasmania this weekend, which has traditionally been a Red Bull Ampol circuit. The new format with the 440 kilometre races across the weekend, which means we've got 2 on Saturday, 1 Sunday. We're going to pick our Saturday winners potentially here right now. And I'm going to go with, one either way. Let's go Brown and Feeney for me with the 2 Red Bull cars. Kobe?
Yeah, I'll probably go with Brock Feeney for race 1 and race 2. So hopefully I'll at least get one of them right. But these picks are subject to change, so I may end up changing them depending on how qualifying goes. Who do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I was looking at the stats. Brock Feeney's won 6, Will Brown's won 5 so far this year as well. And this circuit suits them. So I was agreeing with you, actually. I was thinking Feeney will probably take the first race and then Brown will take the second. It seems a bit more easy. But I want to see what Chaz Moscott does as well, being third in the standings with 3 wins under his belt. Cam has got 4. Of course, first came at Australia at Albert Park. So yeah, see how it goes. I'll stick with Brock Feeney and then Will Brown, and then analyze for next two.
Yeah, worth mentioning, you can change or get your picks in all the way up to the green flag of, or lights out, whatever, of all of the races. So these picks subject to change. Nick Percat popped up for a win at Tasmania last year, so that can be a bit of a curveball. Last one to do tonight is the IMSA race, which is on Sunday evening for us in the UK, Sunday afternoon, US at Laguna Seca. Can Tandy and Nazar continue their run and win a fourth race in a row? I think yes.
I also think yes, that number 7 Porsche, has just been on a different level this year. So I definitely see this win streak continuing. And as Nick Tandy and Felipe Nasr, taking this IMSA championship, by storm, and maybe get a few more races in, we might say they potentially have one hand on the championship, because in this GTP era, it's been extremely competitive. But for some reason this year, that number 7 team is just on a whole new level. Be interesting to see if the competition can catch up with them. But right now, I think number 7 Porsche is going to get them.
Well, they are 3 of my 8 points I've got this year, so I'm hoping they make it 4 out of 9 personally. So yeah, I'm staying with the number 7 Porsche. I see they are my good luck penny, and I'm their good luck penny.
Be interesting to see if BMW can continue their qualifying run with Dries Van Voorhe. I think has been on pole for all of the races, hasn't he, so far this season? Kevin Magnussen is racing this weekend. Yes, he is, John, in the BMW at Laguna Seca. Here is the full pick-a-winner lineup before we get into Hots and Knots. NASCAR at Kansas on Sunday. 2 points available for MotoGP at Le Mans with the Sprint and the Grand Prix. 3 races for Supercars at Tasmania. IMSA at Laguna Seca, as I mentioned. And IndyCar, of course, back in action again, straight off the back of the race at Barber at Indianapolis for the Indy GP. That is on Saturday. Do not forget, that is a Saturday race. If you have an IndyCar pick lined up, make sure you get it in. John is going with Nazar and Tandy as well as us for IMSA. Kobe's put in Magnussen's at Spa. Of course he is. There's with this double and people flying around all over the place, BMW cutting their guys down over the weekend. Adams picked, he's going Marc Marquez, Feeney and Mostert at Tasmania, the number 7 Porsche as well at Laguna Seca. Get your picks in across all the social media on Grid Network TV and use the hashtag pick a winner, and your name could be on that leaderboard when we do the rundown in this slot next week. Josh back with me for Hots and Knots, which a fairly busy weekend, and actually for a hot for me was I got to see I've seen pretty much all of what I wanted to see over the weekend, which is just never happened. The only thing I'm yet to catch up on, and you said that nothing much happened, was IndyCar. I watched Indy Next, but I haven't watched IndyCar yet. So
don't bother.
Watch
the highlights.
No, I've got to watch the whole thing. I watched Long Beach Saturday morning to keep myself up to date, which I wasn't as offended as most people seem to have been by the Long Beach race.
No, watching it without the commentary, which is what me and Matthew Owens were doing, we thought it was better than Bristol. So
yeah. You can make a pick for IndyCar, John, on social media for that. We just wanted to do view on the show tonight, but that, as I said, the post will be up probably via Joe at some stage tomorrow across all of the Grid Network TV social media accounts. Right, what's your hots from the weekend?
Lego F1.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Let's have that at every race, please. I don't think we'd ever get tired of it. The drivers loved it. We loved it. And it was something unique and different. And I'd love to see that come back ASAP because it just gives us a little bit more fun. Rotate the drivers. And, Lewis wasn't driving where Charles was. So swap those around and let's see what we can do, because it was brilliant fun. It lifted up the weekend. What was actually on?
F1, IndyCar, NASCAR.
World Superbikes. World Superbikes was actually all right. Great as well. That was decent weekend. Women's Championships getting a little bit more spicy between Maria Herrera and Beatrix Naylor. So that's getting a little bit tasty. I'm just trying to look where the schedule was. Here we go. Formula E in Monaco. Oh, what a weekend! The Formula E in Monaco. So Saturday's race was a classic. Pit boost worked. attack mode worked, overtaking worked, and then on Sunday we got rain, and it was just as good. And I think that Formula E really works at Monaco. It shows us why Monaco is actually a really good racetrack, and why Formula One needs to slim down the car sizes. Because when you watch Formula One races, it's ridiculous. But Formula E are the size of what the Formula One cars were about 20 years ago, and we can have good racing. So Formula E saves Monaco as a good racing circuit. Fantastic action. Barber was a snooze fest. Where were we? Cremona, we said, was good. Texas was apparently good as well. Miami, apart from the Legos, there wasn't really much good from Miami. I'm struggling to think of something. The sprint was okay. Grand Prix was good up until a point. I think it's one of the best we've had. The battles we had with Verstappen, that was good with the two McLarens, but that's about it really for hot size.
I enjoyed the Carlos and Lewis scrap at the end of the race.
Yeah.
That was entertaining, and someone's mocked up the radio message of "Don't forget what he took from us" from Carlos, which was entertaining. Miami hot, yeah. Cremona was good. Well, Superbike, although Balega is beginning to leg it out at the front of that championship now with World Superbike. Shame that every time we had a shot of a Brit on screen during World Superbike, they were on the floor.
Yeah, that was quite a lot.
Both the Lowses, which was a shame. Miami hot, Piastri outmaxing Max.
Yeah, that was brilliantly done.
I could see myself in that. And what I mean is when I'm playing video games online with people and you go into a braking zone, just brake early. They're expecting you to go in and knock you out of the way. That's kind of what Piastri did in the end with Max. He forced him into a mistake. And bye. I'm now going to end up 40 seconds up the road. It was a dominant victory by both the McLarens in the end.
3 in a row now for Piastri.
Yeah, first McLaren driver to win 3 races in a row since Hakkinen in '98.
Blimey, I didn't know that start. I knew that it's
Jerez 97, and then the first 2 races of '98.
Of course, yeah, Australia and Brazil, yeah. I didn't know that's the first time an Australian driver's done 3 in a row since Webber in 2010.
Ah, yeah.
When he took, was it Monaco?
Silverstone.
Monaco. Oh, Canada?
Nürburgring.
Hang on a minute. 2010 F1.
Nürburgring when he had the penalty.
He went Monaco, Silverstone. Hang on a minute. Monaco, Turkey, Canada. No, I'm just getting the schedule now. He's the first one to do this in 2010. Where was it? Winning driver. Spain, Monaco, Silverstone. Maybe it's first 3 in a season since then.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
But didn't Ricciardo do Canada, Hungary, Spa in 2014? I don't know where that stat's come from now that they keep saying about.
I have.
Oh, it's first 4. It's first 4 since 2010. There we go. That's what it is. Because of course Piastri won China as well, didn't he? So
yes.
yeah. I'm with it now.
Yeah.
It's not 3 in a row. It's 4 in a row. Yeah, Crofty must have sneezed.
Adam says hot IndyCar on Fox's Indy 500 promo. Yes, that's very good. Lego F1 in Miami and Piastri winning, and Formula E in Monaco, which you've covered. Pre what we talked about with BSB, Brad Ray on Saturday in his return to the championship, he absolutely disappeared. He was 3 seconds clear at the end of the first lap or something crazy in dry conditions. And you're looking at that going, sorry, as I said Saturday, it was on Sunday, of course, because it was a bank holiday. And you look at that going, no one's going to catch him. And then a bolt from the past, from 2018, suddenly Leon Haslam of Young appears and picks up a victory in the only race that happened on Monday, which was just terrific to see the pocket rocket back out there winning a race.
I was watching it.
Yeah. It was like Ray was gone at the beginning, at the front again, and he just reeled him in and pinched it off him late on.
Just to quickly
Not.
go back
Go
to
on.
that comment,
Yeah, go on.
Pelot runs well at this circuit.
Low,
So
yeah.
does Rossi. So does Power.
Lundgaard.
Lundgaard went really well here last year, didn't he? Yeah, as well. So he's one. But Pelot, I think, is Kirkwood actually went well here as well, didn't he? So
All of the guys are basically up at the top end of the championship. So it turns
they
out.
went really well here. Yeah. So I think this is the first weekend where it's going to be a bit more open than just Pelot. But yes,
Yeah.
that's obvious not. So you're going to say, yeah.
Obvious not was the accident, which was just horrible. Bits of bike and legs and everything flying everywhere before they cut to a shot of people in the ground. And that, where it happened at the top of the hill there after turn one, is also one of the main spectating areas.
Yeah, there's everybody there, which is
it's behind the paddock. So there were a lot of people up there, as there always is there. So yeah, thoughts with everybody that was on scene, the families of the whole paddock, basically. They're back in action at Donington Park this weekend, but next it's going to be a bit of a downer, unfortunately. It's just it's a shame that it happens any time. The fact that it's happened at the first round of the season is just doubly awful. It's
really weird actually, because last lap Lucy. So Lucy, she did a feature at Donington on the medical centre, and I went with her because I thought, well, last time I was in here was when I had me tooth, and I wanted to learn more about it. Yeah, well, I was in a lot of pain then, and I was in a little room, but I wanted to hear what exactly goes on in the medical centre. So I went with Lucy, and they showed us round and giving all the example about what they've got there. And the medical centres are bigger than you think. And it was quite by chance that they said at every circuit now in the UK, there's 2 beds side by side with each other that can do the emergency crash cart situations. And it was quite ironic that the next week 2 people needed that treatment at an MSV circuit. And I was watching the race live, and first of all, I think a weird hot here was TNT's coverage. Well done for cutting away, and not showing anything. And there's been very little of it online, which is great, and everything that has online that has been taken down. So that's been a very good sort of response to respecting people's privacy about the tragedy as well, and everybody's feelings. But to have an understanding of how the medical centre works and what that procedure would have been, that's all I could think about when I was looking at it. And also with friends of mine knowing the riders and having myself met them as well, it gave a little bit more of a perspective to it all. And I was talking with our colleague here, Julia, who also has suffered with fatalities in her Supercross career as with her journalism and PR background. We just had a very long conversation about how we sort of accept it and how you deal with it, and it was very therapeutic. So Julia gets a hot from this week because we sort of both talked about it and got to understand it. But it's such a weird thing that goes on. I said it to her. It's such a bizarre sport where you never think about it, and then it happens, and it's all you can think about. And it's so bizarre. It's never going to get any easier. It's almost like, even from a fan's perspective, I said this to Megan, it doesn't matter if you're a fan, a rider, a family member, a friend, a colleague, or a rival. Everybody's grief is deserved because everybody's in that moment with everybody else. You saw it, you heard about it, you know it, you live it, you feel it. And the motorsport community is a family, and you grieve as a family. And that's what I've been seeing over the past few days. And it's weird, isn't it? And I just hope that this doesn't happen for a very long time again. But tragically, what we all know, it is going to happen again.
It's been a while since we had the last one in this fashion, where riders end up in the middle of the racetrack and get run into.
It was a freak accident.
A freak accident, absolutely. As a colleague at work said to me today, if that had been on a MotoGP weekend, we would have seen umpteen million replays of that before anything happened, because that's what Dorna do. So yeah, hots to TNT and their team direction and everybody involved in that, Matt Roberts and the whole team. And they got through that nicely, and they had some races that they had in their back pocket from the morning that they could put on in place of what they would have shown, because of course that sport race never got restarted. And then we lost Superbike race 3 and Super Team race 2. Never happened because of what had happened, because the helicopter had gone, so they couldn't, for various reasons. They probably wouldn't have wanted to start the races back up again, and because the helicopter had left the circuit,
and tragically, because the fatality occurred at the circuit and not at the hospital, it was declared a crime scene.
Yeah,
so we couldn't. Yeah. we couldn't restart it anyway, which we've seen happen before, haven't we? At Brands.
With Henry Surtees, because
he died in hospital.
He left during the World Touring Car race. They put a safety car out so the helicopter could take off.
Yeah.
Which was not nice to be standing underneath that going up. Yeah. So let's just hope that we can have the rest of the bike season, well, forever or more, but the rest of 2025 can go off without too many hitches. My other knots, 2 more knots from the weekend, really, both from Miami. I don't want to hear about racing guidelines ever again. Can we just let these people race? And if someone gets forced off, they should get a penalty. Max was out of position on the grid and was noted, but never happened. They noted now I'm trying to remember. They noted the first lap incident with Max and Lando, but it never got investigated. Then they noted and then investigated the second incident between the two. Crofty was losing his mind because they were investigating that one and not the first one. And my second knot was that pretty much the whole time that the Leclerc Hamilton thing was going on, Crofty and Martin were calling Carlos Sainz Alex Albon.
Oh, well, I did that once because the helmets were very similar over the weekend.
They did it for pretty much 2 or 3 laps.
I remember I made that mistake once and then immediately was like, nope, that's not him. But that was only because of the helmets. But to do that with 2 or 3 laps, that's ridiculous.
When they've got as much timing and information in front of you as you have, and they've got the same world feed pictures in front of them as everybody has, which has got the tower down the side of the screen with the names on, and it says Sai, not Alb, next to the 2 Ferraris. So that was disappointing.
I've picked it up. 16-12, turn 2 incident involving cars 1 Verstappen and 4 Norris noted, and then it's 60. A minute later, FIA stewards turn 2 incident involving cars 1 Verstappen and 4 Norris reviewed, no further investigation necessary.
There was another one. He was losing his mind about something, but
he was. Hang on. They did have the lap time deleted. 10-11 incident involving Norris and Verstappen noted leaving the track and getting advantage.
Yeah, and then you gave it back.
Reviewed, no further action. There's another one somewhere, wasn't there? That came up later on with Piastri. Oh, it hasn't come through. Oh, Sainz and Hamilton was investigated, but that was it. Oh, and then Russell with the speeding.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just reminded me. So during Sky's coverage, they went to Ant, and Ant said, I've watched it back. He clearly lifts, and he said he lifted on the radio, and there was some other comment. And Red Bull just continually winding, like putting the pencil in the mechanical pencil sharpener, trying to get George Russell a penalty. The FIA had to go through this whole appeal process. Just watch Sky Sports. Anthony Davidson said he lifted. I don't understand why we had to go through all of that. Whatever.
Yeah, I had it, and now I've lost it.
And what was the line that Martin used? Max hates the stewards, but he loves being a steward when he gets the chance to be.
Oh, yeah. Max always loves doing that steward thing. Right,
like he did it with Lando, didn't he, the other week at Bahrain, when he said, Lando's out of position on the grid.
So this is stewards document number 84. The protest is rejected and is not founded. So they go through the procedure, like the claims of Red Bull. Red Bull claimed that while car 63 lifted the throttle when the yellow flag was displayed, it did not reduce speed and therefore has not complied with the requirements of Article 26.1a of the sporting regulations. In their mind, decreasing reduced speed as required by the regulations means that passing the yellow flag zone at an absolute speed which is lower than the speed before entering the yellow flag zone, and they said that the driver of car 1, which was running directly behind, had done that. Mercedes argued that the common practice accepted by all teams and the FIA is that insignificantly lifting the throttle in the yellow flag zone is considered an appropriate reaction and therefore comply with the relevant regulations. The driver of car 63 stated that he saw the single yellow flag and the stranded car next to the track and therefore significantly lifted the throttle to react to the yellow flag. The team further argued that the lift by car 63 was more significant than what was observed from other cars. The stewards literally said it was evident from the onboard footage as well from the telemetry that car 63 lifted the throttle when passing the yellow flag zone. The throttle was lifted by approximately 0.25%, and this resulted in a reduction of approximately 30% of speed. And that had completely met the regulation. The stewards determined that the requirements of car 26.1 had been met. There you go.
Can you just read the top line of that again, please?
It was evident from the onboard footage.
The very top line of the whole. He slowed down. He lifted the throttle but didn't reduce speed. Was that how it was written?
Was this the claims of Red Bull? Yeah, Red Bull claimed that while car 63 lifted the throttle when the yellow flag was displayed, it did not reduce speed and therefore, has not complied with the requirements of the regulations. I don't get that.
Can you lift and not slow down when there's so much drag?
Unless the car's being pulled on by something else in front, like a tow truck, you're always going to lift. I mean,
really.
Jonathan Wheatley was clearly. Is he still Jonathan Wheatley? Or has he left now?
No, he's at Sauber, isn't he? They've got the new man in.
Oh, who was it?
I can't remember his name, but they did mention him during the coverage. Oh, and obviously Max is unsafe release into Kimi in the sprint race is a not.
Oh, and just to put this down for anything, everybody who says about the fact that a certain FIA steward is racist and very much pro-Max, the FIA driver steward this weekend was Derek Warwick. So there you go. He's done something against Max Verstappen. So, yeah, there you go. What a stupid
thing. After an hour and 52 minutes, it's probably time to go.
Yeah, because
Megan's
got to do a voiceover now, believe it or not. So she's got to come in here. Yeah, well, I doubt we're going to sleep because I've got to edit together a thing for her, for her assignment. So I'm using my university degree. So probably no sleep for me. So, taking a look at our upcoming schedule, Thursday night, Grid Live pre-race is previewing the NASCAR weekend. Saturday, Grid Live pre-race previewing IndyCar at the IMS Road Course. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up is 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Kansas. And Monday, Grid Encore is at 7 p.m. Eastern, recapping the ARCA and Trucks races at Kansas, plus Indy next at Indy. Please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for helping us reach 1,600 subscribers. We're now inching closer to our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air. And you can follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You join Colin, Mark, Shell, Robin, David, and Matthew who invest in each month in the Grid Network. And we encourage you to join these fine folks who help us keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our teams to track more often and continue to grow our media outlet. Link to all that is in the media description. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you click on the Buy Me a Coffee link and get your name on the board and invest as much as you want and consider buying a specific on-air personality cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. So for Kobe Lambert, Matt White from Grid Intelligence Performance Index, and Matthew Owens from the Ultimate Sports Radio Networks, I'm Joshua Birch from JP Motorsports. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Good night.